After the disastrous defeat at the river Allia and the sacking of Rome in 390 BC, the Roman military under the command of Marcus Camillus went through a major military reform, known as the Camillian Reforms. This changed the Roman military from the Greek-style phalanx-style warfare to the Roman maniple system that we know of the time of the Republic. For in the 4th century BCE, the Camillian Reforms focused on the class system of the military. For the Camillian Reforms had actually taken units from the already existing Roman class system to form the new units of the Republic. For class 5 units would actually become that of the levies and the acensi, while that of the 4th class units would actually become the rorii, while the 3rd and 2nd and 1st class would actually become known as the hastati, principes, and triarii. In fact, by the 3rd century BCE, it is actually believed that the levies and acensi would later become known as the velites, while the rorii would be incorporated into that of the hastati in the 3rd century BCE. If any of you want to know more about these type of units, I will leave links down below in the description to my own fellow YouTuber, Ancient History Guy, that of which actually does a couple of videos on this type of subject. So I highly recommend him for this video. During the Camillian Reforms, the Roman military tunic had actually changed from the everyday Mediterranean tunic to a more thickened wool tunic. There are accounts that even sleeves were attached to the said tunics, possibly to allow better movement and lack of the said tunic being caught on something. The footwear that would be worn would have been the everyday style design, as apparently caligae don't start to exist sometime until the 2nd to 1st century BC. So our best estimation of what these footwear would have looked like would have been pretty unknown. So what they actually really used at this time is left to anyone's imagination. The belts that were used at this time were not actually the infamous flashy designs as you see in later centuries. The belts that were used were just plain leather. Simply because, one, these were actually of after the sacking of Rome, it could be possibly understood why. However, there is not much evidence to say the least. Some designs even show buckles, others believe that they were a design of pattern of woven belt designs, but there's little information we can go on. These were actually known to have been of a skirmish-style unit of the front ranks. It is indicated that these warriors would actually use a type of center grip round shield for protection. It is indicated that these shields would have just been of wood and leather, and its which could easily be discarded after they were damaged. Levies were also known to have carried a bundles of javelins. However, these are not the infamous pilum as we know from later centuries. These were a multitude of design of javelins, some in which were about 10 inches in length of a said socketed spearhead. However, of what these looked like is of anyone's guess. The Acensi were known to have used a small round shield for protection. This style of shield was mostly that of a buckler sized. In such, this could protect from overhead arrows or as well anything that which could have fallen onto their heads. However, being put in the rear ranks, this probably would never have happened. The Acensi were known to have used the sling as an everyday type of weapon. It is indicated that the way they would have used it would have been a clockwise designed throw. In other words, the projectiles that were flung from this sling were actually supposed to go over the heads of their allies and come down upon the enemy. In fact, it is actually believed that some of the rocks that they had thrown were actually the size of a man's fist, indicating of an early artillery weapon.
ferro flamaque minatus est, urbi ferro flamaque minatus est, aecoli meminis iuavi, aecoli meminis iuavi,
The Rorii, also known as the lower class military units, were of the lowest of low. Very few could actually own a short sword-like weapon. And in fact, it is actually believed that this might have been the earlier design of the Pugio. However, there is mixed information to prove this. This design would have been perfect for behind-the-shield style warfare, especially how the Rorii fought. The helmets that were used would have been of the Montefiano design. It is indicated by some artwork that these designs of helmets might have actually been of a mix between that of helmets that had cheek plates and not cheek plates, in which it is shown in some artwork that the Rorii would wear Montefiano helmets both with and without cheek plates, possibly depending on their wealth and status. The shield of the Rorii was the scutum. The scutum shield would have been used by the military ranks of the Roman military, from the Rorii and all the way to the Triarii, as this was known as the Shield of Rome. Last but not least, the Rorii would have used a bundles of javelins and a spear. However, it is actually indicated that sometimes there are accounts of them using the hasta, a Roman-style spear that copied from the Greek dori. Other examples, though, say otherwise, as it was indicated by their style of fighting that these men would charge in to break the ranks of their opponents. So, possibly not a hasta. The Roman hastati at the time of the 4th century had little to no armor. In fact, it is indicated that they actually were always mistaken for the Rorii, except for one major thing, being that of a sword. In fact, it was indicated that they would be mistaken for the Rorii in more ways than one. However, there were certain differences. For example, the Montefiano design helmet that the hastati used would actually be that of bearing feathers upon the top crest, to indicate friend from foe, or as well a legionnaire on the battlefield, of what legion he belonged to, and to intimidate his opponent from afar.
ferro flamaque minatus est, ferro flamacum minatus est, aecoli meminis iuavi, aecoli meminis iuavi, ade Carthago, hic mare nostrum est, aue pater Romule, et domina abitura mare.
The Gladius Gallius, also known as the Sword of the Barbarians, or also known as the Sword of the Sackers. It has been indicated that this sword might have copied from the Celts, as indicated by various types of historical written structures. This sword would be used by the Romans pretty much up until the 1st or 2nd century AD. However, it would slowly fade from the Roman military after the 3rd or 2nd century. This sword would be used from the Hastati to the Principes and the Triarii. Pilums had started to form around the 4th century BC. It is unknown where the Romans got the information on how to make this style weapon. However, it is highly believed that it is because of due to trade with the Iberians, or as well maybe the Celts that sacked Rome had actually used them. It is unknown whether or not this is true or not. During the 4th century BC, the Hastati, Principes, and Triarii all used the hasta spear. This would be the spear of the Roman legions, until around the 3rd century, when both the Hastati and Principes abandoned the hasta for the more closer style of fighting of warfare. Unlike in the 3rd century, where we see the Romans wearing the lorica hamata, it is indicated that the Principes would not wear anything other than a bronze chest armor, or in this case, a pectoract plate. The Triarii were known to have worn bronze greaves in order to protect their legs. However, it should be indicated that it is unknown whether or not they used one or two of these greaves, as it is indicated that sometimes it was depending on the wealth of the user. The Triarii were known to have used bronze cuirasses in order to protect themselves from the blows of their opponents. However, it is indicated that bronze cuirasses were very expensive, so much so that many Romans probably didn't wear them, but rather preferred that of the linothorax. As you see my wife actually placing this armor on me, it would actually need to be taking of that of 2 people to actually put this on. However, one can actually simply put it on by themselves, but it is very difficult. However, this armor would slowly fade from the Roman military ranks, possibly due to it being too much time consuming to manufacture, and possibly to put on. The Triarii would also wear the Italo-Corinthian helmet. This would be the helmet of the Roman military elites, and as well even that of the Roman centurions for quite a while. Originally, the Triarii had used the infamous Greek-style hoplite shield. However, slowly switched over to the said scutum possibly within a decade, mainly because of style of fighting of warfare.
Sparta decumani legio gemina. Summus quarta decumani legio gemina. Offerte deviate cedite. Offerte deviate cedite. Cornus sonat pede inferre. Cornus sonat pede inferre. Milites Romani procedite. Milites Romani procedite. Nostra superbia est in legione. Nostra superbia est in legione. Et pugans veritatus est domus gensque. Et pugans veritatus est domus gensque. Et pugans veritatus est domus gensque. Pugnans veritatus est domus gensque.
Thank you for watching. If you like this video, like and subscribe for more. If you have any type of military units you want me to cover very soon, please let me know in the comments below. If you have any type of weapons from history you want me to cover, also let me know in the comments below. And if any of y'all want to actually look up more on these type of units of the 4th century military reforms, I will happily leave links down below in the description for y'all. And as well, guys, hope to see y'all in the next one. Like and subscribe. And very soon we will be getting into the 3rd century, so that way you can see the difference between the 4th century and the 3rd century Roman military. Anyways, guys, I've been Celtic Templar. Roma Victa.